Hi everyone, it is 11 a.m. sharp. Good morning to all my friends and industry colleagues from the hotel industry. My name is Shirley Lai, I'm moderator for today's Moving Forward series of webinars organized by Malaysian Association of Hotels. Just a hi to everybody. Hi everyone, good? Good, thank you. Just a little bit of housekeeping because a lot of participants, so far I see 175 had signed in. We have a lot of noise in the background, so be sure to mute yourself. The mute button is on your left-hand side of the screen. Please mute yourself, and if you do not like to be seen, you can also close your video so you can save some battery. All right. Okay, COVID-19 pandemic took its toll on tourism worldwide, and Malaysia, of course, is not spared. When the cases were first reported in Malaysia way back December, January, we were relatively still very safe and under control. But eventually, the number of cases grew, and we were forced into movement control order. And of course, our industry is hit. The entire tourism industry is hit bad. Given the bleak outlook, even at that time, MAH had been engaging various ministries of the government from early stages, from formulating promotions to marketing plans, economic stimulus plan engagements. MAH, during this period, also conducted a couple of industry surveys to obtain on-the-ground situation outlook, and the results were quite worrying. We forecasted the average occupancy for Malaysia for the year 2020 at a mere 25%. This is an unprecedented low in the history of Malaysia. As we moved into the final stages of the MCO, we shift our focus now to looking and moving forward, anticipating recovery for the tourism industry, especially hotels. How and what we can do. Or ADR has always been a hot topic for the industry and also a weak point for us in Malaysia, often dubbed as the cheapest in the world. So today, in our first session of our Moving Forward series webinars, we deep dive into revenue, room rates, and yield post-COVID-19. Joining us to share their thoughts, expertise, and ideas are three speakers that we will introduce along the way. We have Mr. Alex Castaldi, Senior GM from Sunway Resort, Ms. Fenady Uriarti, Business Development Manager from STR Global, and Mr. C.S. Lim, Divisional Director of Legoland, as well as our MAH VP. So let me just introduce our first speaker for today, Mr. Alex Castaldi. Alex, are you there? You can unmute you as well. So a little introduction about Mr. Castaldi, and we'll call him Alex. He's the Senior GM for Sunway Resort Hotels, in charge of all KL City hotels in Sunway Group. He was in Banjaran Hot Spring Resort for 3 years, and his experiences have taken him from his home country of Italy to Germany, Philippines, Thailand, Bali, and Dubai. So Alex, would you like to share with us your comments on today's topic, ADR, revenues, so forth?
Hi, good morning, Shirley, and first of all, good morning to all other panelists and all those colleagues and attendees who have taken the time to join us today. Thank you also for the invitation. Of course, Shirley, I think I'm saying nothing new when we say that the industry, our industry, is probably the hit among one of those hardest hit by the pandemic. So, and of course, I think most of the GMs, or at least myself at the moment, are not looking so much into ADR yet. We are battling even to still manage the finances of the hotels which are still open. So I think in this time, surely it is very, very important that those that have responsibilities in managing hotels and in managing businesses actually get very, very attentive in all the areas of the hotels where, of course, we have a lot of expenses. I think I have spent most of my time in the last few months actually each and every corner of the hotel. I think GM will share with me the fact that now the reading of the smallest of the office that you have in your own hotel, and you're very creative in a way of how you can be efficient and keep the business afloat. Because of course, when you talk about new business coming in and the CMs over, that is not even the question because people cannot travel yet. I think when we look post CMCO, I think it's quite a given, Shirley, that the first market that will bounce back is domestic market. I think our efforts, at least as far as Sunway City Kuala Lumpur is concerned, is to concentrate and start to market our property a lot more to local business rather than international, which we believe will come in a little bit later on in the.
I'd like to intercept a little bit here. A lot of comments that the audio is not clear. There are lots of interruptions.
I would agree with that. In fact, even while I am talking, I hear a lot of echo and disturbance. So I think it's really matter the majority of the people, I mean, all the people should really put their mic on mute so that the quality of the audio can be better.
Thank you, Alex. Alex, you want to continue? I think there are some requests for us to speak a little slower so that they can hear our audio more clearer.
Yeah, I think there was, I'm not too sure whether what I have been saying until now is actually been understood or it is been heard correctly or properly, because there is a little bit of disturbance in the audio. But I think, Shirley, in short, what I was saying is, I think, as hoteliers at the moment, we need to be very careful now we manage the finances of the property and also be very creative on how we can make use of our staff and our resources during this time. There is very little that we can do during the MCO because we are forced not to do business. So there is very, very little that we can control. I think post CMCO, I think what we have been doing in some ways, of course, we have worked a lot on the marketing side of things, keeping in touch with our customers through emails or social media and things like this. So to make sure that we still have some sort of connection with our customers. And of course, we are focusing our efforts post MCO initially on the business coming from domestic market, because this will be the first market that will bounce back. We also expect to have very little business when it comes to corporate meetings and banqueting. So also this area, we don't think we'll see much revenue until at least probably the end of the year, when things will start to normalize. On the other hand, I think we also need to look at it a little bit positively, because one thing is good that Malaysia has handled COVID crisis so far very well. Actually, in Malaysia, they have managed to keep the cases under control. If at all of the countries that will try to start back their economy, Malaysia should be at the very top of those. And we should also somewhat have the confidence of neighboring countries actually coming to Malaysia because of the way actually the government has dealt with the crisis. So I think we looking forward, there is also positive things that we need to take on board. And I think we will see some improvement starting August, September in our numbers. However, sure, occupancy will still be low during the 2020 year. Was that clear?
Ada. Sekarang? Then on the
Very sorry, Alex, you're gone.
I'm here. I just muted my mic too.
All right. Before we move to our next who joined in a little bit late and those who did not catch you clearly, would you want to summarize in 3 points what you felt the hotel industry is now heading towards in terms of ADR?
Okay, Shirley, I think in terms of ADR, if we look at the fact that at least for the next few months, we will be focusing a lot more on domestic business rather than international. Of course, we need to cater for those hotels who maybe traditionally tend to enjoy more international business rather than local. Then the rates will have to be tailored and packages will have to be made in order to meet this demand that will be there from the domestic market. So I think there is no secret about that. If you want Malaysian to come, if you want local business to come to your hotel, then you need to be a little bit more attractive in terms of the offering that you're going to make to them. Having said that, I think Malaysia is still quite a wealthy country where a lot of people travel for holidays every year, and they generally tend to go abroad in places like maybe Thailand, Indonesia, Taiwan, Hong Kong, etc. So hopefully we will be benefiting from those people not traveling abroad and taking breaks in Malaysia. So that's why I honestly, having managed Banjaran in the past, Shirley, I also think that resort, particularly those in the able to accommodate holidays, actually will see probably a bounce back a little bit faster than those traditional business hotels, where I think the business will come back a little bit slower. But you know, I have from Sunway City, Kuala Lumpur, Shirley, maybe we have a good eye on different part of the economy, because in Sunway City, Kuala Lumpur, we have hotels, we have shopping mall, we have hospitals, we have universities. So really, this city encompasses a little bit everything that you have in the society. And of course, university also are still closed. Students are not around. On the other hand, hospital are as busy as usual, more or less. But what caught my attention in the last few weeks was the transition from MCO to CMCO, and the moment in which the shopping mall were allowed to open all their shop as compared to before, where only essential services shop were open. And we have seen quite a big increase in footfall in the shopping mall from the moment the CMCO was announced until the last week. You know, to be honest, I personally go around. I was in the gardens at the Mid Valley the other Saturday and was very busy. It took me half an hour to find a car park. And actually, I couldn't find one. So I sent my car to car wash to be able to get out. So I think in Malaysia, Malaysian people are looking forward to get their life back. And I'm sure once actually the government will allow us to get back to our habits and our normal way of living, actually we will see a spike in demand for hotels as well. Of course, you know, there are many businesses who have negatively been affected by this pandemic financially, but not all the businesses, you know, the economy is still there. There is still flow of money around. So I think we need to also be a little bit positive and don't look at everything as doom and gloom, because things will get better. You know, actually, I participated into a webinar where I was invited by Salad Plate, you know, a couple of weeks ago, and I shared this with the audience that day. You know, I went back about 10 years or 11 years to 2001 during the September 11 crisis. And you know, at that time there was an article on the Washington Post from Alan Greenspan. At the time, he was the boss of the American Bank. And you know, even at that time, there was a lot of worry about a possible second wave of attacks. And today we have a very, very similar case where many people talk about the second wave of COVID. And you remember or not that at that time, everybody thought they would never take a plane again. They would never go to a shopping mall again, because everybody was so terrorized, obviously, by the fact at the time. But eventually, you know, the world has gone through many, many different crises. And I think we have shown resilience all the time. And I think this will be no different. But of course, there will be a few months very, very bad. And that's why I was saying at the beginning, for us in the industry, in this time is really to be very careful managing your finances the best you can. I think if you can really cut your expenses to the bare minimum, you know, that doesn't mean you need to fire all your employees. There are a lot of ways to make sure that you reduce your money, your expenses effectively. I think the government, in the best they could have given also some subsidy. I know they probably are never enough when you are doing zero revenue, but I think we need to take advantage of all we can, and we need to also be very creative, you know, Shirley, in the way we look at things. You know, there are, you know, I make this example as crazy as it could sound. You know, I'm even looking at renting shop and opening my own little restaurant to occupy my chef. You know, actually, I had a meeting yesterday because, you know, we own shopping malls. We have things. So I think this is the time for people not to worry too much what is going to happen in 6, 12, 18 months. Because anyway, nobody really knows what is going to happen. I think our business, I call it perishable. Every day that we lose is not going to come back. So we need to also make sure we do everything we can today with the hope that at the moment we really need to manage the best we can to stay afloat, and things will get better eventually towards the end of the year and in 2021. Was that clear? I hope so. There was a lot less disturbance this time around.
Yeah, it's clear. Shirley, are you there?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. Thank you, Alex, for your sharing. I'd like to move on to our second speaker, Ms. Fenady Uriarti. Fan, as we call her, is the Business Development Manager, Southeast Asia for SDR Global. Fan has 12 years hospitality and real estate experience with major global brands, and she frequently presents latest trends and updates at industry events and conferences over Southeast Asia. Fen, shall you take the stage?
Thank you, Shirley.
Fen, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Fen, all yours. Fen, unmute. Fen, unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, but you speak louder. Yeah.
Fen, are you there?
Hello?
Hello, Fen?
Hello, hello, can you hear me?
We can't hear you, Fen.
Can you hear me?
You need to speak louder, Fen.
Yes, is this better? Can you hear me now?
Very much.
Sorry, I'll just take out my earphone then. Shirley, and I'm happy part of this discussion for the Malaysian market. So some of the data that I'm going to share with you and some insights will be part of the business intelligence moving forward. You know, as Alex has mentioned, you know, it's not all gloom and doom for us because there's all of hope. So I will share some comparisons in some key markets where we have seen some sprouts of growth. So I'm going to turn off my video and start to share my screen, okay? My video, okay now? You can screen now?
Nothing is coming up yet.
Right. So, well, it's really, personally, it is about the long wait for June. But before I deep dive into some numbers, with SDR, we do share. So please do visit our website, sdr.com. You will see analysis, webinar recordings, some press release, and any. Look at our web, join our own webinars as well. So we hope to give you moving forward, manage this, right? Okay. So all right. So obviously it's a totally different beast for this COVID-19. So we have seen here global impact. So based on some numbers that we have looked at based on our census, we put different buckets of occupancy. So we have about those under 25%, below 25%, below 25% occupancy. It's not just Malaysia who is experiencing a but also globally. Hold on. HP is starting to share content. Which slide can you see now?
The screen has gone blank again.
Shirley, I'm just testing my mic. Can you hear, Shirley?
Yes, I am. I hear you. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Can you see now?
Nothing. It's still black. Okay, it's up.
All right. Okay. So some different buckets. So we have 4 buckets. We got those reds, the orange, the blues, and the greens. So there's some 2 buckets that is quite notable, obviously, the red and a little bit of those light blue. So the light blue, if we would look into Asia Pacific, there are two markets where we have seen whereby occupancy is beyond 50%. So during the COVID crisis, we have seen that Singapore and the Philippines has got some sprigs of growth there in terms of occupancy, mainly driven by some government support because they needed quarantine facilities. And then for the Philippines, because Philippines is big on BPOs, you know, those call centers, it was tagged as an essential business or essential industry. So during the crisis, business has to continue. So the staff are being put into the hotel. So that kind of fuel some good growth for the Philippine market when it comes to the occupancy. Some order for those 25 to 50%. And in fact, some of the hotels are already open by May. So today's reality, as much as we are seeing a lot of free fall into the market, we've seen economy tanking, mass unemployment, hotels are, you know, a lot of hotels have closed. So for example, for economies, for the Philippine market, it is their lockdowns is longer than Wuhan. So with over 75 days of lockdown, that's also putting a lot of pressure into the economy. And it is the first time in 34 years that the economy will experience contraction. So obviously that will follow a lot of unemployment and also little demand when it comes to the leisure industry, right? So of course it bites, but the thing is, where are we now? So now is June, where a lot of markets has already opened. So Thailand, Malaysia is actually one of the few markets that's opened early. Vietnam also races to open. So by the time of by May, they already started to open. Hotels are open, even bars were open. Now, just a few days ago, you've seen that in the news, Singapore already ended their circuit breaker. And also the Philippines finally is down for the capital for June 1. So there's going to be a lot of movements. There's some open commerce. So hopefully it will start to fuel more movements already and also fuel some demand into our industry. Now, is it dire? I mean, is it really a bad business now to be in travel? Well, you know, according to World Tourism Organization, it's, you know, this industry, the travel industry, is still has proved its resilience over the years. So during the SARS, global financial crisis, there were some dips there. But obviously, COVID is a totally different beast, like I mentioned. So we've seen that huge drop in terms of tourism arrivals.
Fan, we lost you. Fan? Hello? Fan? Mason can check what's happening. Fan, are you back? Sorry guys, let's fix the sound first. Mason, can you check what's happening with Fan's
I think
connection?
Fan lost the connection, so I think she have to
She lost the connection.
Yeah.
Okay, I think what we'll do is let her sign back in, and while waiting for her, perhaps I'll just like to call Mr. C.S. Lim to share his thoughts while we wait for Fan to come back and share her resources. C.S., are you there?
Yes, Shirley, good morning, and I'm here.
Okay, CS, I'll let me introduce you briefly first, yes. CS Lim is the Divisional Director of Legoland Malaysia Resorts. He's also the VP of Malaysian Association of Hotels. He has over 20 years experience in the hospitality industry, having worked in local and international brands across Asia-Pac, like Marriott, Intercontinental, and Aman Resorts. So CS, please share your thoughts on our topic today.
Okay, good morning, everyone again. I think for the benefit of everyone, listeners and the members, maybe I want to share maybe because initially just to for those who may not know, we'll be posed a few questions, 7 questions in total, basically talking about ADR. What I'm going to do is to bring you two together, maybe in one so-called one kind of presentation. Through not nothing to be presented, but it's purely through words that you will hear. Because basically some of the questions I feel relevant, really relevant, what we should do. And some of them I presume is quite obvious, logical. I think most of you would already know so-called what to do or the answers. And generally some I'm not sure why a question is posed here, because one of the questions they post here is, how is Malaysia, how are we going to do with our ADR, average room rate, okay, or average whatever rate or the yield they're going to get. I think for
Sorry, CS, Chup for a second. Your video is not on. A lot of the participants like to see your face there. So
okay, I'm also advertising myself. Can you see me now?
Okay, now we can
It's me. Hello. Yeah. Okay. Very simple. I mean, talk about ADR. Yeah, ADR. ADR is basically a matter of supply and demand. What do you think happened this year? How do you think supply against demand? Yeah. Having said that, I think everybody knows. You can be hearing some people saying or what apps that you see. I think this year is talking about survival. I don't think ADR plays very much in our topic of discussion. Let's be honest about it. Of course, even saying that doesn't mean that we do not actually maximize our ADR, maximize our yield. Of course, this is again back to basic of revenue management. If certain high demand period, we can still maximize ADR. I think that's all we can do for this year. This year, talking about what I think you can hear from Alex earlier, is all about survival, some cost containment. But I would say that a little bit different view is that I feel this year or even now, during this downtime, during this MCO, tell me if I'm going a bit too fast. To me, I find that we have much more to do than when we're actually operating a normal operation. Very simple explanation that I'm not too sure some of you, I know many of us are working from home, who will actually work longer hours now compared to when you're working back in office, right? So I think there's a lot of reasons why. Because the whole reasons now is because we need to prepare. We need to prepare for what some would say post-COVID-19, new norm or new abnormal that's going to happen, let's say, when we allow. Simple. What are the big things that I think you heard earlier about? We preparing. Okay, you know that we need to prepare for procedures, guidelines, how to reopen if we are to reopen hotel. Second, of course, you have to also look at cost, right? Cost. I mean, looking at cost is very easy way to do it. You know, to me, maybe.
Did you receive my slide?
Ben, can you mute? Ben, can you mute?
Yeah, hold on.
Okay. So to me, now is the time to do a lot of work. For example, to prepare for moving forward. As mentioned, this year we all know that it's a survival year. But the most important of all, I think, to our members is how can we sustain the business moving forward? This is more critical. We are looking to the future. We are looking at what will happen in the future and how can we survive, continue to survive beyond this year. So to me, that's critical. So even looking at cost base, what do we do? You know, are we going to innovate and change? For example, like, do you still have 3 or 5% in the front desk as a concierge to guess what to do? Are you going to invest in e-concierge? You know, in a way, then you actually reduce the manning. Are you going to look through your organization structure? Do you still have many layers and spans? For example, like, I think, you know, in typical hotel, you know, right, you can see that sometimes you have a guest service assistant who report to a senior guest service assistant and a guest service manager, then also to an assistant front office manager, and then front office manager, after that, rooms division manager, director of operations. So I'm just giving a typical sometimes, like say, traditional old ways of what we're doing. So what are we going to do about it? Are we going to redo this structure to make it efficient or not? Even like, for example, why do you need like 6 XCOM, XSCOM? Can one XCOM actually combine 2 duties? Because this is matter of survival, it's not a cost base. what actually triggers me this example like this, we always been seeing in our hotel industry. This is a permanent, I would say is an inherent kind of issue in industry. We always say that if you remember before the inventions, you know how we are being paid, right? Most of the staff, we call it rank and file, 300 or 400 plus 3 points, if you remember those days, yeah? So you can see that at times the pay does not actually attract people to join the industry. We used to cry, oh, we don't have enough talent, we don't have enough people to join the hotel industry, hard work and low pay. Why? Because it's sometimes the manning structure, the numbers. You know, I still remember when I joined the hotel industry many years ago. First joined means many years ago, right? I actually have a chance to go to one of my sister hotel in another country. Of course, this is a Western country. I still remember back home when the hotel that I was operating 500 rooms, 500 over rooms. At that time I was in finance. We have close to 40 staff in finance department. Okay, that was 20 years ago. I went to the other hotel, 500 rooms in a Western country. How many how many finance staff they have? They only have 5.5. How come? Basic comparison, in Malaysia, we have a purchasing manager, assistant purchasing manager. Just give one section, 2 purchasing assistant. And then after that, we have cost controller, assistant cost controller, house, so-called a storekeeper, then receiving. Yep, you can see the big numbers already. The hotel that I seen previously was they only one purchasing manager who also do cost control, who also do receiving, who also do storekeeping. One person. But of course, the pay is much higher. So I think we have to start moving into this kind of principle and direction to relook our organization. I'm not saying we go to extreme because I think sometimes it depends on capability, depends on qualification, depends on certain kind of credentials. So we can slowly move, because if not, we'll be operating at very high cost, high numbers, and with such kind of, I would say, crisis. Like say, who can guarantee after COVID-19 you don't have COVID-20 or 21, right? I mean, it may comes again, right? No, right? Virus can mutate. So we have to be ready. To me, doing things now, trying to plan ahead is so much more critical to move ahead. You know, for example, these are our costs. What do we do? Do we invest in technology? Do we look at organization structure? Do we look at our staffing level, layers, and so on? So do other things that I think is extremely important. Also, sometimes not just talking about ourselves, talking about challenging our vendors. You know, do they always, I think I think some of you would have this experience. Some vendors, sometimes product they actually supply are not too consistent, quality wise, whatever. You know, so in the way, are we willing to set the standard during this period? This is the best period. You know, when things are down, this is where we can actually have a bit more say in negotiation. So to me, these are the things that we really to do moving forward. So to me, it's quite a lot of things that we can actually plan to do moving forward. Preparing to make sure that the hotel can keep on sustaining, keep on operating for a long time. Yeah. So this. So this is basically what we work in terms of innovation. Yeah. In terms of how hotels can take into the innovation. Yeah. In a way. What kind of innovation we're talking about? Of course, innovation means come from immediately what people would think of, oh, must be IT, must be technology. Yes, I think there's something that we can't run away. I think now we live in this world, we know that these are critical. Just like an example, I was mentioning like you know, how many kind of manning that we can actually, I'm not saying that reduce, because you can actually contain in a way that so they can operate much more efficiently. That is where you have to look at. But a lot of times also, talking about back to a little bit, because this topic, I think a lot of people want to look at ADR, right? Because this is the topic that we are talking about here. So how are we going to increase ADR? How to make our product interesting, right? I think in many ways, like say, having said we need to make product interesting is very maybe easy way to say, but how? For example, like I'm just giving an example in KL in hotels. I remember the period KL in hotel, they used to attract a lot of people that live in KL and check in over the weekend for night. You know, even their home is just 2 kilometers wide. So, you know, they call it staycation, right? You remember that? So these are the things that we should create create demand. How do people want to come in and stay over the weekends? I think previously was maybe after dinner and drink, you don't want to fly back, so you stay in a hotel. Same thing, I think you didn't just talking about this leisure, this market. How about other things? For example, even MICE. MICE, for example, are delicate. A lot of times we talk about MICE business meeting, or the whole thing is talking about people coming together, check into the room, check in your accommodation. Then after they go to the meeting room, go to the convention center, meeting, having coffee break, chit-chat, come back, have a cocktail, dinner. That's it. What can we do differently? What can we do differently? For example, like I'm just saying that why don't we do something a little bit different for kind of like MICE business? Why don't we actually tie up? I mean, since I'm from a theme park, why don't you tie up the theme park? You can have a coffee break at the theme park, do a roller coaster ride and do a theme, or having certain meetings outside in the outdoor area. So you actually combine both. Why don't we all work together to create something a little bit different? So to me, those are the things, the innovation that could attract and mix us a little bit different to attract. Because like I said, we are competing, just not talking about, I don't think we're talking competing between KL or Penang or whatever. You're talking about competing against the region generally, in terms of country. So in a way, these are the things that we talk about, in the sense that the creativity have to come in to create something really different, something interesting. Like I say, I don't think deep inside all of us, we just don't want to go for, just like in school time, we don't want to just keep on studying and no play, right? Keep on studying. Same thing for business convention. Sometimes we need to mix a bit of pleasure. You cannot just want to have heavy topic meeting, listening to speakers and so on. I presume all of us, you too, right? I just like now, I think if it's nice, if you can have a very nice, funny video for you to show, just besides listening to me or Shirley, that could make things maybe much more interesting. That's where I come from, in a way that we need to stay innovative, but we need to be very specific what we need to do. But the most important, how can we sustain? This is where a lot of work need to be done now. We need to look at our own hotel. How can we keep a very lean cost from manning, from investment in technology, and also like challenging vendors to help us to move forward. This is where I would like to share. Yeah.
Thank you, CS, for your thoughts.
Thank you.
Hang in there, because we'll do the Q&A a little bit later to share with the panelists. Let's go back to Fan. Fan, are you back with us? Fan?
Yes, I am. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Okay, you were sharing your slides a little bit midway. Would you like to go back to your slides and continue from where you left off?
Yes, absolutely. I do apologize to everyone. I got cut off, but I'm happy to go back to where I left off and discuss more about hotel closures. Okay, let me share my slide now. So, can you see my slide?
Yes, the slides are clear.
Okay, great. All right. So, as I mentioned, there's a lot of restrictions and okay, so there's a lot of restrictions around globally, and that also fueled a lot where demand has tanked into like almost zero demand. So what we have seen is a lot of enforced closures for the hotel. So it's not just that the hotel wanted to close, but they are enforced by the government. So all these reds are the ones are all enforced closures. Although in May, we already have seen some bits and pieces there globally where hotels are allowed to open. So for example, Vietnam, where they're one of the few earlier markets that are allowed to open, and even bars. So obviously we have seen some sprigs there of growth for those hotels that are open. So during the closure, obviously, for vast majority markets, we were tracking the occupancy levels. So we got the orange here are the Asia Pacific, and then the blue ones are the Americas. So I will just cover mainly the Asia Pacific and particularly our market. As I mentioned earlier,
Fan, we're losing you again. Fan? Mason, did we lose her again?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so South Korea will be one of those better managed markets. So they once they started to open and eased restrictions, we saw some growth there in terms of occupancy. So on a weekend holiday, but obviously it's also quite tricky because it's also like skating on thin ice for them because with this situation for the COVID, we need to have a better balance and have to carefully manage because we're afraid of the second wave. And as you may all know, that few days ago, or maybe I think this about last week, there were already some closures again for the hotels because of some rising numbers again. So obviously, it's a very risky to open the market, but it also takes a lot of balancing. And if you are open, obviously, a lot of requirements when it comes to hygiene and cleanliness and disinfection of the property. So there's a lot of things from the operational side. The next slide will be Vietnam, going back again because we need to look into some markets that are well managed, right? So Vietnam opened in May, obviously. So there's a system reboot. There's a they were even looking at international flights for them. So domestic flights were open, and we have seen some numbers, especially during the weekends. When we look into the key cities, Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi, not much. If we would look into the occupancy levels, 13-15% there. Hanoi is slightly better, 26% because they have longer stay, because they're closer to those factories. For example, the Samsung Town. So Hanoi is better positioned than Ho Chi Minh when it comes to manufacturing. However, there's a lot of discussion when it comes to domestic demand, right? Because you obviously open your market and we're all banking into domestic demand. So what we have seen is that for Da Nang, for example, one of their sunny destination, we've seen some movements already on a weekend. In fact, on the last weekend of May, we have seen their occupancy rises up to about 35%. That's good, but again, during the weekdays, it slowly dipped again. Another sunny destinations that we are also closely monitoring to understand that movement and push from the domestic market is the Phu Quoc. So for 3 weekends in May, we have seen some good numbers there, starting from a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and also Sunday. So some good numbers and uptick of the numbers for domestic tourists. Now let's drill down to your market, the Malaysian market. So what I'm going to show to you will be mostly occupancy level. So let's understand Malaysia. So the struggle of Malaysia's occupancy. This is not new to you. You have seen your own numbers if you are using SDR data, right? So we're looking at a daily data from 1st of March to about the 3rd week of May. So we really seen that dip there towards the end of March and started to rise up, but occupancy is well within the 20s to 25% in total Malaysia. So you get a lot of quarantine hotels. There's some support there from the government, but there's also some fixed rate when it comes to the usage for quarantine hotels. So ADR obviously is generally a bit flat there. Total Malaysia for May, what we have seen is there's a huge decrease of occupancy by 61%. If we would look into the provincial Malaysia, because we have to break your provincial Malaysia and also the capital city. So occupancy level in general, but this is a combined one. Your Johor Bahru, your Melaka, your Penang, etc., all combined for the Malaysia provincial. So generally, as an average trend there in terms of occupancy, we've seen that around 27%. Interestingly, if I look deeper into Johor Bahru, I have seen some that are from this webinar that are coming from Johor Bahru. occupancy averages a little bit higher than the rest. So what we have seen that based on our small sample, the occupancy averages for 37%. Now, let's look into Kuala Lumpur. Put the next slide. All right. Now, Kuala Lumpur, generally, well, where most, of course, like quarantines are also happening. Okay, find some. Okay, sorry. All right. So occupancy is around 15%. It's a general flat occupancy from April to May. And obviously, we're also looking closely into what happened in June when things are better, as you would say, because many markets are also looking at, June being where things are going to be a little bit eased in many, many markets. Now, if we would compare that to last year, so what I'm showing you here is this slide that we had, well, some of you might have seen this from last year up to May of 2019 when things are better because occupancy drop then was only about 6% and rates was only about 3.4%. If we are going to talk about some rates, just for May alone this year, so imagine in 2019, the rates dropped only by 3.4%, right? But this year, what we have seen is a general drop of 28% for
Fan, we're losing you again.
all about suffering. We have to be optimistic, right? So we need to look at what's the road to recovery because we have to be optimistic. We got to prepare when the demand is coming back. So is it going to be a smooth, speedy recovery for everyone or for the Malaysian market? Or are we looking at some bumpy roads ahead? Or even, those the risk of being of maneuvering into a free fall because obviously if the terrain is not good, we're going to experience a lot of free fall. But this is just anticipating what kind of recovery. So what am I driving at? We have a forward-looking data. So this is something that we would like to explore for the Malaysian market because right now you are blinded with the future data. So if I go back to the slide again, we want to maneuver these roads, right? We want to know whether is it easy for us? What's up ahead for 365 days? What's the pickup for the next few weeks or so? So with Forward Star, we think that this is a good opportunity to tap into the Malaysian market. So some forward planning for everyone. We can always talk about, how is the recovery look like? How are we going to forecast? I guess everyone here is mostly from the operation side. Forecasting is such a headache because we don't know what kind of demand because like I said earlier, the COVID-19 is a different beast. We haven't seen anything like this. So of course, there are some great assumptions, intelligent assumptions, but we also need to know what lies ahead for us. So the next slide here is showing you an actual data. So why am I showing you Melbourne and Sydney? This is only to show to you that the data is available for these markets. And this is something that we aim and hope to achieve for Malaysia. But look at this. So this is a pickup for the next 83 days. So this is based on May 11 data. So what we can see here is there are some dips. So those dips are obviously some cancellation. So we don't really see that much. But once the markets are open and, a lot of governments are talking about travel bubble, etc., easing restrictions, domestic power, etc. So once those all come along, we need to understand, what's our pickup? How quick are we picking up on the opportunity to book hotels for your own property? So this is obviously one of the tools that we think is very useful for the market, especially for maneuvering COVID-19. So let's recap for a bit. What do we have seen so far? We've seen domestic markets. pushing, taking, for example, Vietnam, for example, we've seen that push because, you know, sunny destination, their country, obviously it's local, it's accessible, and it's leisure, and it's a weekend. And I'm going back again, what's your recovery tools? We have, if you're not using SDR, we have the data available. We're happy to share based on complementary surveys if you want, or if you want to look into your competitive set. But whatever tool, whether it's not coming from SDR, whatever tools and data available in your market, use them, because it will aid you in the recovery or maneuvering the recovery for your property or properties. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Fan. Fan, will you be sharing the slides with MAH? Fan?
Yes.
Will you be sharing the slides with MAH?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and will that be okay with STR if any of our members were to request for the slides that you can share it with the members as well?
Yes, we can give you the slides. So I'll share this with the
Yep.
admin. Yes. Mr.
So
Yap.
yeah. Okay. So members of MAH, if you like those slides, please request via MAH, please. All right. So we have our three speakers who have shared with us their thoughts on our subject matter on revenue, on room rates, ADR. So I'd like to quickly dive straight into some pertinent questions, which I will pose to the speakers and for them to share their thoughts as well. Before we then take the questions from the participants, which Mr. Yap and Fad is compiling for me to ask them in the next 15-20 minutes. So, Fan, you have shared with us some data on Malaysia's occupancy and ADR historically last year till now, pre-COVID-19. Can I quickly check with you if you are able to, I know you have told me before that you have no forecast onto Malaysia's data for the next 6 months, but what do you think our industry can expect in the next 6 months from now till December 2020, Asia Pacific wide? Fan, are you there? Okay, we lost Fan. Alex and CS, are you also still within our webinar? Fan, okay, you're back.
I'm here, yeah.
Okay, Fan, would you be able to share with us in the next 6 months, what do you think the industry over Asia Pac, or if you have Malaysia's data, what would be like in terms of occupancy and ADR?
All right. I mean, it's hard for us to give a forecast for Malaysia as much as we wanted to. We don't have enough historical data and enough participation from the market. So it entails longer data, about 20 years or so. But looking at Asia Pacific, right? Well, it's quite critical at this time because there's still a lot of uncertainties. Are we going to close the market? There's going to be east restrictions, which flights are going to be available. So is there how much regional travels will be there? So it's hard to predict what's going to be like in terms of occupancies in ADR for 2020. But based on our regional forecast, based on mature markets like Singapore, Sydney, Melbourne, Bangkok, Jakarta, like key markets, what we have seen in combined is there is already some sort of recovery in 2021, because obviously until there's a vaccine will be there, there's a lot of game changers, so a lot of uncertainties, but this time. But if we would factor in, let's say, there's an ease of lockdown, etc., we need to take in a lot of parameters. But what we have seen is that around 2021, there's going to be some return into some demand into the market. Rates, it's not so much, obviously, because people are, we need to push back the confidence to travel, right? Before people starts to travel. So so rates might be a little bit of, I would say, if we don't really foresee a lot of growth there in terms of rate, but the most important is for the demand to come back. So yeah, that's all I can share for now.
Thank you, Fan. Alex and CS, do you have any thoughts on this particular questions? Where we move forward to next 6 months, do you think our industry will be able to recover consistently? What do you think the occupancy or even ADR might be?
Okay, I can jump in from here exactly what I have actually mentioned earlier. Can hear me, right? Can hear me?
Yes.
Like I say, this year, I think looking likely, it's talking about survival. You know, when you talk about survival means you just have to scrape enough for you to survive. If you look at what's the reason, of course, exactly similar to what Franz has said, it's matter of supply. Matter of supply. I mean, in demand wise, I think you know that the demand may have shrunk. I know you have here news about whether official or unofficial. Some hotels have closed down, some of them temporarily, some of them permanently. Yeah, these are the news that have been flying off in the market. Supply could have been lesser. Uh, General public may have a little bit of fear with Airbnb. These are our main issue in hotels, right? However, having said that, the reduction of bit of supply may not be enough to cover the reduction in demand. You look at the demand. For example, I think a lot of people were talking about first is government policy. Government are still closing borders, not even our interstate borders. How are you going to instill demand or instigate demand when this is happening? When you don't have flights, how are you going to bring guests, bring foreigners or bring international guests coming to Malaysia? I'm talking about Malaysia specific, right? One. Second, even though, let's say, for example, like government opens up the border, right? Opens up border. How many will be flying? How many would not have the fear initially to fly? And how many would be even afford to fly? Look, if the airlines also impose social distancing, instead of one plane taking 200 people, now we have one plane takes maximum capacity of 60 people. How will be the cost of each ticket? Who are going to come? Unless only unit travel, only based on really essential, you have to travel, or it's so important that you must travel. If you look at these factors, surely the demand will drop, right? If surely demand drop, how are you going to push ADR up? We are not talking. I think everybody fighting for the piece of cake. Similar to situation, really even worse than the situation pre-COVID-19. So looking at that situation, I'm quite sure within this it will be very challenging for hotel talking about how much service room would they want. I think it's more talking back to the same thing that I mentioned earlier, survival. Just another note about vaccine. I mean, I know everybody was, I think, at this point looking at vaccine. Oh, if vaccine discovered, everything will back to normal. I will ask a question to the general public. Would you think so? If a vaccine tomorrow, would things go back to normal immediately? If the vaccine is available, are you willing to take the vaccine now? In a way, so in a way, you know that it takes times. It takes times for people to get over the fear, to know what's happening before they can actually go back to the level of business that we used to have pre-COVID-19. So in a way, for 2020, I would not think that we will go back to normal. Even like talking about vaccine, you remember SARS, SARS many years ago, has a vaccine for SARS discovered or been used? How many have actually used it, if there is? So sometimes this kind of vaccine may not be the case. It's how general public, how the world is getting used to this new norm of having a threat of COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you, CS. Alex, you got anything to share? If not, I'll move on to the next question.
No, it's all right. It's all right. I think there is a lot being said already.
Okay, so Alex, you're on here on the screen. You were talking about earlier. You were sharing that not everything is all bleak, or people are still moving around, and to focus on domestic demand. What do you think in terms of this domestic demand? What should hoteliers do now in the coming 6 months to drive this demand?
I think, from what I have heard, Shirley, I think going forward there is, actually the industry alone cannot actually drive the demand. Actually, I think the government will play a very crucial role. Politics will play a very crucial role in building back that confidence into the people to travel. And first of all, also depends from the policy they will implement on whether or not actually people will be able to travel. So I think at the moment, Shirley, of course, we expect domestic business to be the first to bounce back for the simple reason that there will be less confidence to take a plane in the short term. But I think what the Prime Minister and the government more in general will say closer to the 9th of June, the end of the CMCO, and what kind of restriction they will put in place will also play a very important role to this. But I think in general, we will have to entice the public to take holidays here. To share with you, a few weeks ago, I was privileged enough to attend a meeting where there was also Tan Sri Aslan, which is one of the members of the Economic Council, that the Prime Minister has set up. And, there were a lot of good ideas shared. I think the government realizes that our industry is the one that needs probably the biggest push in the short term. And, I was sharing also things that other European countries, for example, are doing, right? For instance, in Italy and other few countries that are very, very touristic driven, also in Europe, the government is coming up with incentive and voucher to give to the local people money to spend in holidays within the same country. So, for example, each Italian family most likely will receive €1,000 voucher that they can spend this summer in Italian holiday resorts, hotels, and so on and so forth. So I think, and I said this to Tan Sri Aslan, and I think the government realizes that they need to come up with some sort of incentives also to stimulate the phase one of demand, because of course Malaysia alone is not sufficient to fill up all the hotels that we have in the country. So at the end of the day, we would still need people coming from abroad as well. So, and that brings me to the next topic. When airport will reopen, how will they reopen? Because if they open the airport and then they say whoever comes in is to quarantine 14 days, then it is not very helpful in the short term, while we understand that there may be a necessity to make sure that people are entering the country safely. But then if that is the case, then the industry won't be helped a lot by that in the short term. So I really think, hotels, this is I think a battle, if you allow me to use that word, that the industry alone cannot fight. It will have to be an effort that also other industry and the government particularly put in to help at least kickstart back the economy of our industry. But of course, you can throw rates. I actually, I have worked, as you said before, Shirley, I have worked in many places in the world, Middle East, Europe, Africa, and Asia as well, Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia, etc. And you find that Malaysia is one of those amongst the many I have been to where there is very little discipline in rate integrity, if you allow me to say that. And when there is a very, I'm saying this to say everybody thinks is smarter than the other one, right? And throws rate everywhere. This way of doing business, at the end, will always backfire. I think this is a time where also hotelier must learn to actually hold on onto their rates. Of course, if we go and entice the local business, by all means, go and offer a good rate, a good package for locals to come. No problem with that. But I think from this crisis, what we must learn is that actually the industry must work together. And you know, do not judge. You know, Malaysia hasn't got worse hotel than you find in Bangkok. Malaysia hasn't got worse hotel than you find in Philippines or Singapore or wherever. You know, actually Malaysia has got beautiful hotels. But when you come to Malaysia, you pay a third of the price of what you pay when you go to other countries. So that in the long run is actually quite dangerous. So I think this is a time where the industry must actually learn to build the rates up. You know, and because we are now so busy at the moment, train your people, deliver exceptional service so that you can keep your rate. This is what you find when you go Bangkok, Indonesia, etc. Right? A lot of the people like to talk about the Thai smile and the Balinese very soft approach to service and so on. I think this is the time that people must look into their business and look at ways how to actually increase the rate. I heard the word Airbnb as well coming out from one of the panelists as well, right? Actually, this is the time that we need to find the Airbnb, because hotels spend a lot of money, not during COVID, already for the past many years, to actually follow sanitization procedure, SOP, to follow food hygiene procedure, at least here in Sunway. You know what? We didn't have to implement a lot of new procedures because we have a lot of procedure all the time. But of course, we came up with some tailored one, particularly to cater for the things provoked by COVID. But you know, these are the things that Airbnb cannot guarantee you. So let's work on this. Let's market this. Let's talk to the customer about this. Engage the customer about this topic. So traveling in a licensed hotel is safe at the moment. It's not safe because of COVID. It's safe because hotels have taken steps already since past many years to address hygiene issues, sanitization issue, and so on and so forth. But I think, you know, the other day I was on Facebook and I saw, you know, I will share the name anyway, it's no secret. I went because I used to work for Anantara, right? And you can see those hotels in Bangkok already posting picture with government official showing off government certificates to the hotels to say that this hotel is been certified by the ministry and is a safe hotel to go. You know, why can we not be that fast as well? You know, to do this. So I think these are the questions that we need to answer. But you know, when it comes to demand, I think 2020 will be a year of assessment. I don't think we can dream of having very high occupancy. But I think similar to what others have said, at the moment we are not even worrying about ADR and how much money we can make. Can we keep the business afloat? So I think this is the question. I foresee that for this 2020, industry will probably not cross more than 30% occupancy, if at all. And you know, we just have to hope that the little occupancy that comes in at least sufficiently for us to keep our hotels open and you know, guarantee a job to our people, which I think is also a very important thing. You know, the management at the moment works very hard and very creatively to guarantee jobs to our people. That's, I think, also very important.
Okay, thank you, Alex, for your lengthy sharing. In fact, you hit the nail on when you're talking about rates. And everybody is actually lowering their rates, and we're already very low in the entire world. And there was one question raised on the floor by one of the participants that, you know, obviously there's going to be a price war because everybody is scrambling for occupancy. So rates are going to be lower, or is that going to be really lower? And what should hotels do to counter that? So Alex has shared his views on thinking or his thoughts on what we should do.
I want to add a very little thing, if you allow me, because to answer a little bit that question, you know, actually whenever, because, you know, I have revenue managers that work for me, I have director of sales that work for me, you know, we really deal with this kind of questions every day. Is our bread and butter. And my very simple answer to that is, you know, do you think the customer at the moment are looking for a cheap rate? Or customer actually are looking at whether they can travel or not? Actually, people don't really worry about rate. People worry whether they can travel or not, or it's safe to travel or not. I don't think people at this juncture are not traveling because of a rate issue. People are not traveling because governments have put entire countries on lockdown. So rates has no play into that. And I don't think that you will generate a lot more demand if you actually lower the rate. And I challenge anybody that is listening, please go anywhere the occupancy is very low, right? You can try. Go put your rate 100 ringgit today and check after 1 week how many bookings you get. You will get nothing. You will still get the same number of booking that you get if you keep your rate at 300 ringgit. Because unfortunately today there is no demand, and you won't stimulate demand by rate, because that's not what the market demands. The market demands confidence and demands actually permits to travel. Once people will start to travel, then I will worry about rate. But I don't think it's a factor at the moment.
Thank you, Alex. That's very strong. Pen or CS, you agree with Alex's views on maintaining at least higher rates and not lowering rates throughout the hotel industry?
Okay, this is just my opinion. You see, let's look at the situation. Yeah, I think to me, this is something which I think we think we don't want to lower rates. We don't have price war, but is it preventable? This is my question. Why? It's very simple. Let's say, for example, like we know they have a restriction of travel, this and that we mentioned earlier before. So the demand will be low. For sure, right? I think we mentioned that below, less people will be willing to travel, less people will be able even to travel. But if they need to travel and they want to come to Malaysia, what's next? They'll look at which hotel they can stay, right? So in that case, does good rate place a part? Give it a thought, right? We're talking about the little demand that comes in. I think what I see from feedback from many is that if there's so few demand comes in, there's still so many supplies. The supplies do? Are they going to fight for that small little business that comes in? How are you going to fight if it's not rate? So I also agree that to a large extent, I think lowering rate is not good for anybody, but would hotels have a choice? That's one. Yeah, that's one question. I'm just answering the question. Second, I mean, to me, if honestly, I also agree with certain so-called things that which Alex have said. I think sometimes customers comes in, when they come in, they're still just not looking at rate. Sometimes they look at the particular other issues like safety. Yeah? To me, it's how reputable is your hotel to actually enhance or ensure safety standards are upheld, are complied with, are consistently executed to make sure that it's safe. How many times you go to many places, suppose it's social distancing, you can see the crowd, are they social distancing, and who is controlling that? So to me, these are the things that the hotel can do beside rate reduction to so-called fight to enhance reputation that you are actually a safe hotel. Just like when we go to Singapore, I mean, whether restaurant or no restaurant, you know that you're generally safe because they really enforce what they actually want to implement. I'm just saying based on this scenario. Second thing is, times I'm just looking at also from a human perspective. Like I say, I'm talking about change. Yeah? Most human beings doesn't want to change generally, differently from what they've been so used to doing. So if they come to hotel now, so many restrictions, so many kind of I would say policies that you cannot do this, you cannot stand here, you cannot dine with this, you have to do this. How would the customer feel? You know, I think this is something that we all must look to. How can we ensure a customer that comes in to a hotel with restriction, they still enjoy our stay? So to me, we have to look at this sort of factors to increase. I'll give you an example. I mean, what generally, so they're just sharing what something that we are planning to do. Like for example, like now we know there's certain breakfast area your normal breakfast venue may not be able to accommodate everybody that checks in the hotel. So we have to move some customers somewhere else. So how do we move them? How do we make the journey interesting? How to sell that this is going to be better options to move around a little bit, walk further away for breakfast, but you actually enjoy it much better. So to me, you have to look at all this soft touch to make the guests coming in safe, and also enjoy the stay with a reasonable rate. So in a way, that in that case, I think that will actually stop all from just throwing rates. But in that scenario, if it's nothing are done, if I need to come to Malaysia anyway, I have 10 hotels to choose. How do I choose the hotel beside location? Thank you.
Thank you, CS. Towards your points on product innovation and enhancement, question. Hotels are always, when we talk about hotels are about rooms. So we are also selling rooms, and in some, a lot of banquet facilities and F&B facilities. So in this new post-COVID-19 era, do you think hotels can diversify its business from conventional rooms, and for you, of course, including theme parks, to a different business model? There's a possibility.
Okay, I'm quite sure you don't mean converting a hotel to offices, right? No, right. So the hotels, you look at the principal hotels is selling a bit, making people physically come to the site and check into your hotel and stay in. Whether they stay whole day or stay half day or they do something else. So you still need people to come in and buy the room and stay the night period, right? But the thing is, why do they come to the hotel? Some for leisure, that you have attraction somewhere else that location. For example, like KK, Langkawi, people goes there because of holiday. KL, a lot of business. So how do you actually make your business be different? As I mentioned earlier, talking about that, convention is where you have volume, the minds, right? So why do we divert a little bit? It doesn't mean that you need to actually switch your hotel. You can tie it up with somebody else. You can tie it up with a theme park to extend your facilities. You can tie it up with a I would say, university to offer some very, very so-called value kind of contribution from certain educational aspect or training. Why not? Right? That you're actually offering, you can tie up with a partner, which if you have your conventional, you get this kind of product. You get this kind of facilities that no hotels can actually offer you. Why not? So to me, you have to diverse in that way. You still can't run away that you need people to come to the hotel, check in and buy a room. This is my thought. Yeah.
Thanks, CS. Alex, you have any comments on alternative business models for hotels?
I think, Shirley, I will be a little bit, I said before, I'm a little bit less catastrophic than many, but I will say this, hotels have been there, I think, from 1,200 or 1,300, it's been 800 years, or more. I don't think they will succumb to COVID, and I think also, to be honest, because I think we need to be a little bit realistic, I know that a lot of the one I call the keyboard lions is very easy to throw question and be innovative and creative. But when you sit on the chair and manage a business, is a little bit more complicated than that. In the sense of how can you turn a business from its current use overnight? You cannot. Let's be realistic. You cannot do it overnight. But of course, if you ask me, the COVID continues for 3 years. I'm sure the owner maybe will destroy the hotel and probably make apartment out of it. But this is a different question, and then they would need a different manager to run that kind of operation. They won't need my expertise anymore. But I think for time being, I think we need to concentrate really, as I said before, on what we can do to damage control and look at our expenses and ensuring our hotels are safe for people to travel. People will travel again. I am 100% convinced that people will travel again. but we need to, at the moment, just put all the measures in place to manage survival. This is, I think, what is very important. Then being creative, yes, as I said before, I'm even looking at renting empty spots owned by Sunway and send my chef to do pop-up restaurants, because maybe on the road I can sell more meals than I can sell in the hotels. And like by doing so, I can probably save a few jobs of some of my talented chefs. Because, you know, I want to say this, you know, some of the hotels, of course, nobody can really understand what's going on, because every company is very, very different. But as far as Sunway is concerned, at least I can talk for my hotels. You know, I think we spend a lot of time and money training our people. And you know, people that work for you have got experience, have got talent that you want to try not to lose, because they cost money to build back. You know, so if you can be a little bit creative, and if you can manage everything possible and try to retain as many staff as possible, I think it's something that we have you know, a little bit the responsibility to really do. But of course, you know, if this continue forever, I'm sure everybody understands what is going to happen. But I really feel hopeful that towards August, September, we will start to see some demand back. Of course, not in high numbers, but as I say, if the demand is sufficient to at least cover your costs, pay the salaries, survive, I think all agree that this year is already to be considered a good year. You know, for us, as I say, we were in a bit privileged as well, that we were chosen as quarantine hotel for 2 hotels out of the 3. Very honestly, the rates were very low. Everybody knows is public domain how much the rates was and everything, and in no way actually made revenue for the hotels. But you also can't deny the fact that it did have at least pay some of the expenses and so on. So I think at the moment, these are the questions that as management we need to answer. What can we do, small and big, that can help the business sustain? Also on the part of the innovation, right? I think that's also another question to answer. What do we mean by innovation? Because this is another mantra that everybody throws around every now and again. But you know, innovation is very expensive. Very expensive. Do you want to talk innovation when actually you are retrenching all your people? You don't even have the money to pay the bill for electricity. So I think we need to be realistic, you know, because you know, we recently changed our Opera, you know, our PMS system from an old one to a new one, and we changed it just before COVID, you know, and just to implement the new PMS is in the millions of ringgit. You know, and yes, this new PMS gives me a lot more flexibility. We can do check-in from the phone, from anywhere in the hotel. I don't need a computer anymore. In future, if I want, I can open my rooms with a mobile phone. I don't need the key anymore. But all these that we are talking about, first of all, you can't do it overnight. And if you start innovating today, maybe by the time you are done, people don't even remember COVID already anymore. But it's okay, you can start this process, because maybe things like COVID will happen again. I don't deny this. But I think at the moment we need to be realistic. Because on one side we talk, wow, we need to save. We don't even have money to pay the staff salary. On the other, we talk about innovation. Which one of the two? I think innovation is something that should be on the agenda of every organization, not because of COVID. And if some organizations have not started to innovate when they should have, then, you know, to be honest, maybe the management also is not very smart. You know, so that's why I say, at the end of the day, in this time, I think we need to really try and pass this very negative time best we can, and all be hopeful and confident that things will eventually go back to normal. As I say, September 11, nobody wanted to go to a shopping mall again. Nobody wanted to take a plane again. And you know, as I say, luckily for COVID, there is the hope for a vaccine. That time, there was no hope for vaccine. You know, so I think in all the negative events, we also need to look at the bright side of things. Unfortunately, this has happened. We cannot cry on ourselves. We need to get out of it best we can. I told all my manager, this is the time to lead. This is the time leaders can show their worth. And those that are capable, those that can work very hard, they will come out stronger than before. But I won't over dramatize on this.
Thanks, Alex. We have another half an hour to go for our session. So we'll take some questions from what the floor has posted. There are many questions that has come in. Some of them crisscrossed more or less the same questions. So I will have to pick some questions that maybe has not been covered by the three speakers earlier on. Some of the questions that was raised, the answers were already in the notes and the comments given by the speakers earlier. So I would like to take these questions from one of our participants. She mentioned here, what measures will hotels take to instill confidence in the market for guests who are coming to stay in the market, so that they can build confidence for people to come and stay in the market? So maybe Alex, you might want to share from a hotel operational view what your group is doing to instill customer confidence.
I think, Shirley, what we have done, of course, we have come up with a comprehensive list of touch points that we have implemented in order to ensure that customer approaching our properties do so in the safest possible manners. So we have a list of at least 30 touch points, which have been, as I said before, added on top of our normal procedures already. And this varies from, communication with customer prior to their arrival, to actually inform them of all the measures that we have put in place and what they will find when they come to the hotel, from plexiglass screens at the counter to give them extra confidence while talking to our employees, to the fact that they can tailor their housekeeping service to their needs. If they want a towel, put in the room extra before they arrive, so that we don't need to go to the room if they don't wish to, So we have put in place a lot of things that will make the customer feel that actually Sunway cares and cares very much for their safety and well-being. I think, as I said before, the fact that Malaysia in general also has managed the crisis quite well, I think this will help a lot also to build confidence in the travelers to come to Malaysia, because this country has had very few cases. So again, this is something that we are also communicating, and I hope the government also will help boost this all over the world. So I think at the moment it's very important that you keep a very open communication with your customer, and you inform them about all what you are doing. You have many ways to do that, through social media, email, CRM. I mean, there is a lot of ways that we can keep in touch with our customer. I think, and I can maybe share this, I think we can all help each other. I think one more thing hotels can do, I'm sure we have all got millions of cancellations, right, in the last few months, from March or February until now. So I think one thing hotels can do is keep in touch with all those customers who have canceled, and tell them all what you have been doing during these 3 months, and offer them to book again. After you are telling them that you are open now, you have implemented all these new policies to make sure their stay is comfortable. I think that's pretty much all we can do.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Touching on the points of building customer confidence, maybe I will just share with our participants here that MAH is also working on a clean and safe certification campaign with MOTEC. where the rollout of these clean and safe guidelines will be out very soon to all our members. And you could use this clean and safe logo on your website, on your collateral so far, in order to tell customers that, yeah, we have taken all the necessary precautions and sanitization in the hotels, and you should be very comfortable and confident of staying in our hotels. So that will be rolling out very soon. To stay in touch with our emails. So I'd like to go to another question. Perhaps, Fan, maybe you can help in this. There's one question here that asks if there are any information on flights and air travel and border travel from countries to countries, because that would definitely be of importance in order to boost arrivals. I'm not sure whether SDR has got any information on all these statistics.
Hi, Shirley. We don't do flight details or flight data. We only do hospitality data. So what we do collect from the hotels are their raw data. So for us to generate, KPIs that you use for operations and revenue management, we generate occupancy, average daily rate, RevPAR, supply demand, even PNLs. So we have those, only those data.
So I guess for these questions, I would have to recommend or propose to Aaron that perhaps internet research will be able to help get this correct information on the flight details. But at this point of time, I think border traveling is still not entirely open. I think some countries are implementing from July, some from August, and then whether or not there'll be a 14 days quarantine when you arrive is still an unknown fact. So it makes traveling a little bit more confusing right now. There was one question that's raised on OTA. A lot of hotels are dependent on OTAs as a channel for us to get our business. And the fact is that OTAs are also struggling. We see Agoda, we see Expedia already laying off some employees here and there. So if OTA is suffering, how would the hotels be impacted by that? Does Fan or CS have any comments on this area? You think the drop from OTAs would also affect the hotels in terms of picking up occupancy?
Well, obviously, OTA, of course, is a way to generate bookings for the hotels. Well, I guess it still boils down to the demand, right? Is there a demand? So just like what Alex said earlier, so regardless where the booking channels are coming from, or the bookings are coming from, whatever channels, OTAs, or direct bookings, the question is, the restrictions, when the floodgates are open, the controls that you have, how ready, so from the operational perspective, how ready is the hotel for the new normal and the needs of the travelers to have that confidence. So
Fan, we lost you already. So I'll quickly move to the another questions. Fan, are you still there? No?
yes, I am.
Okay. There's one question that asked in regards to the statistics that you have presented for Kuala Lumpur, and whether the statistics that you gave within the months where we have our lockdown, the occupancy percentage, does that include hotels which are converted as quarantine centers? Ben, did you get the question? No? Okay, I'll skip the questions now. Let me see. There are many questions. Some of them are actually directed to MAH. So I'd like to pose this question to Mr. Yap. Are you somewhere in the background? Do you want to take the answers online, or you would be answering those questions directly with the participants?
Yes, actually, I've answered quite a few already on the chat. If you have anything you bring up, then we can also mention it here.
Okay. But some of them are dealing with government policies and so forth. So I think, do you want to take those? There's one question here that says that, does MA know what the government is going to do in the future months to enhance and strengthen the tourism and hotel business in Malaysia? Do you have a general outlook which you want to share with the rest, so it would take care of the key questions that some of them are raising in regards policies?
Okay, I think in general for the next 6 months to, 3 months to 6 months, this coming immediate period, the focus will be on domestic tourism in various multiple discussions we have with different agencies and the Ministry of Tourism. Everyone is talking about domestic tourism, and we push this idea of business travelers as well. So these two items will be the first to pick up and the first to be promoted, where we will encourage Malaysians to take advantage of this time to visit places they have not been to. Actually, many expats have been to more places in Malaysia compared to Malaysians themselves. So this will be the time to promote hidden gems in the country that Malaysians themselves, locals, can travel to. And we mooted the idea of a drive-to tourism. Somewhere you can drive to, you don't need to take a flight or anything. Driving to tourism, anywhere that you can drive to can be a destination. And of course, at this moment, these are all restricted by movement controls. But recently, there was an announcement of people allowed to move within the green zones within their own state. And we have also discussed this at travel bubbles that we were talking about, between green zones to green zones, that they should be allowed to travel even though it's interstate. MA is also working on that with the Ministry of Tourism on certain allowance. And for business-wise, we have already had prelim discussions with the Ministry of Tourism to allow meetings and conventions and to use our convention centers, to open our convention centers as restricted SOPs with capacity of maybe half at 50% and distancing policies in place. So all these are in the midst of discussion, and we hope there will be some new and good news coming from the government soon.
Thank you, Yap. I hope some of Yap's sharing has answered some questions which are related to government policies, because some of those questions are actually still beyond what MA could provide, because we still do not know what's forthcoming from the Ministry of Tourism yet. Give me 1 second while I'm still going through some of the questions that might be interesting for us to look at it. Most of the questions that were raised were very much related to rates, how we should manage rates in these times, which I think Alex and CS have actually answered some of their views on what we should do going forward in the next 6 months. It's better perhaps to maintain rates than lowering rates, because the demand would be the same. There is a comment about Airbnb.
Actually,
and the regulations that are going to be issued to regulate Airbnb. We all know Airbnb, whether we like it or not, is one of our competitors in getting rooms taken up. So at Airbnb usually gives their rates 20%, 30% lower than hotels. And the question was raised was, will Airbnb be regulated by the government? Mr. Yap, if you could like to tell us what's the latest update on this regulation?
Yes, I have also updated this in the chat earlier, that the framework has been proposed and is in the midst of being presented to the respective ministry, namely the Ministry of Tourism, who will be regulating the platforms, and the Ministry of Housing and Local Government, who will be the enforcers on the ground. I've shared a link to the document that the Malaysian Productivity Corporation has published on the chat. There's a link to it that the participants can download the details from there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yap. So in the last 10 minutes of our session, I would like to wrap it up very quickly. So I would like to ask if any of the panelists have any summarized words in 1 or 2 minutes. If you want to summarize yourself on the session today. Any panelists would like to say anything before I wrap up today's session?
Hi, Shirley.
Yes, Fan.
Off again earlier, but as I was saying, and also maybe just kind of a recap, it's more about the demand, understanding the demand. So for us from the data side, use the data to help you navigate, the road to recovery, whether it's historical data or forward-looking data. But we also have to be, when the time right now when the demand is really not there yet until all the floodgates are open, then I guess the point of Alex is about the preparedness and also from the operational side in order to give value to the customer. So to understand and also to attract more customers or clients or guests once the restrictions are open. So understand the data, whatever is available for you, and all the best and stay safe to everyone.
Thank you, Fan. CS, any parting words?
Okay, I will just sum up with very simple words: survival. To me, that is the thing that should be on everybody's mind: calm, survival, and how to survive moving forward. One, that is important. That's the full outcome that we want: survival now and survival moving forward. And second, this is the window. This is the time window. We should do things quickly to change whatever we need to change. For example, even contracts with vendor negotiation, reorganize our organization structure, rechange our bonus incentive plan, to gear towards productivity, to gear towards rewarding of achievements. Things you want to do now. This is a very short time window to do it going forward. Because after that, you may not have this opportunity. To be more productive, efficient for the betterment of the industry.
Thank you, CS. Alex, anything from you before we close today?
Mr. Lim, I am very glad that you said that there is a very short window to get all of this done. I can read some hope in that. If you consider the window short, means there is a hope for getting better soon. I think Shirley, very simple. I think for those, I know it's very hard. I know some hotels are struggling and other players are struggling very, very hard. But I think we have to hang in there. We need to work very hard. But I also want to make sure I give a word of hope that the business will come back. There is a say, right? Only people die, business won't die. Things will eventually get better. But we need to hang on in there. I said, look at your business. This is the best time to manage your finances very well. Learn every line of your P&L. So when the business come back, hopefully your profitability will be even better than before. I want to say my last very little thing about rate. Now that we are going to be bound to anyway spend a little bit more money to ensure safety of our customer, right? Let's not forget to put the sanitizer every 10 meters in the hotel. It's not free. To have the oleo mask for the staff is not free, So actually our expenses in the short term will increase. Then you drop your rates. At the end, you are going to give your owners no profit. The owners are not going to be very, very happy to have 60% occupancy and 0% profit. So that's why I say it's always a balancing act. And we need to always talk when we understand our P&L very well. Because, when we talk about these things like safety, security, and things to implement for COVID, it's not free. It costs money. And somewhere we need to take this money in order to make our hotel safe. It doesn't come for free. So that's why I say to everybody, please don't jump to conclusion too fast. It's not as simple as it sounds. But we will make it, I'm very confident.
Thank you, Alex. Well, I've just been sent an app about a last-minute questions that come in, which the administration thought that it was an important questions to raise at this last round, you know. And we all know that hotels have owners behind us, have operators on top of us. You know, we have to report to many bosses as well. And we all know that there's so many hotels in Malaysia. It's almost difficult to cooperate together in terms of rates. But, you know, this one question comes out: can Malaysian hotels control the OTAs from throwing rates in their site? You know, so we thought this was a good time to see, you know, coming from hoteliers like Alex and CS, you know, can we collaborate, hoteliers together, can we collaborate together, unified front to control the OTAs?
CS, you want to go first or I go first?
You can go.
first.
Yeah. You're really speaking.
I think you know, Shirley, as I said, I answered this question, you know, we very precisely, because actually, you know, in my previous life, I also do revenue, so I'm quite familiar with the world of OTAs, and in fact, I'm also very involved in this particular subject still today in my operation. Is one that is very dear to me. And I think the question, if I may say, is a little bit wrong in the way it is posted already. And I say why. OTA cannot throw your rates because you must manage the OTA. You give them the rates. But let me tell you one thing, and I share this because maybe other general manager or some other in the industry maybe are not so familiar how these whole things works in the back end. Because, you know, whenever you go with technology, internet, and those sort of platform, it can get quite diabolical, you know. But you know better than me that on OTA, when you sign contracts, you know, Booking.com will tell you to sign up for Genius, Agoda for private sales, Expedia for bundle promotions. Then they want 10% discount if you book on the mobile. Then they want 10% discount if they book from Singapore, POS. You know, maybe I'm saying something a little bit technical for many. The long story short is, if you allow the OTA to have so many discounts, which I tell you, most of the revenue director in the hotel, sometimes they even forgot how many discounts they have given to so many different channels, then of course the OTA have a lot of room to play with your rates. So I think it is very important whenever we sign contract, whenever we manage OTA, and whenever we offer discounts to OTA, that we manage that very carefully, because the more discount you give them, then the OTA become very smart. You know, they cut their own commission to show a cheaper rate to actually provoke parity issues online that then at the end can negatively impact hotels. So I think it is really a prayer I make. I don't know how many general managers are listening here, but please go to the bottom and learn how these things works in the technicality of it, and you can avoid a lot of the problems.
Thank you, Alex. CS, you need to give me a very short 1 minute comment only.
Okay, 2 lines. First, I agree with Alex, because a lot of times is how we actually, we say, inverted comma, close inverted comma, control the LTA in a way. Second, the thing is how do you prevent or how do you ensure all hotels comply? This is a free market. Thank you.
Thank you, CS. Here you are, guys. We have come to almost an end of our session. We have 8 minutes left. I hope participants who have logged in, we registered 338 at the top time. Now we're down to 290. They have been enlightened by the speakers today, and they are sharing and their thoughts. Our next webinar session on the Moving Forward series is going to be titled Big Data, Supply and Demand of the Hotel Industry in Malaysia. This is going to be on the 18th of June 2020, same time, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. invitations from Ma will be sent out soon. So look at your email going forward. So to everyone, stay safe. And we hope you have enjoyed the session today. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Lee. Yeah,
Please
thanks,
send an
Fred.
email
Thanks.
to
Yeah.
MAH.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you, Fan.
Thank
Okay,
you,
bye.
Kelly. Yeah.
Okay, bye, 大家姐。
Thanks.